We're only on episode 3 and I'm already out of ideas. So let's talk about utensils. Thinking back to when I was a kid, I remember my first time using a spork and thinking, well, this makes sense. A perfect combination of the two most used utensils, the spoon and the fork. When one can do the job of two, doesn't it make it the best option? In my little mind, I had the plan that when I got older, I would only have sporks and knives in the kitchen. And the fact that no one else was already doing this made me think I was ahead of the curve and a historical influencer. And then I grew up. Now, it wouldn't be a DX original without an efficient history lesson. The first patents in the US for a spoon-fork combo date back to as early as 1874. Though they went a step further back then and tried for a threefer, the unofficially named spork knife. This variation included a knife blade on the handle itself. It was an idea, and I'm not going to spell out why that didn't work, because common sense. Anyway, the term spork originated in the 20th century and saw many variations over the course of history with diverse designs from different cultures like Japan. Looks appetizing, doesn't it? Here in the US, we eventually landed on a general design looking something like this. A plastic spoon with a row of teeth on the end. The spork. Nowadays, finding a spork in the wild isn't very common, with Reddit being in a general agreement that if you were to be served food with a spork, you are most likely at a KFC. This is, in fact, one of the very few places still embracing the spork life, and it is what's given to you when ordering a side, such as mac and cheese or coleslaw. Another that is slowly shifting away from sporks, but is still offered at some locations, is Taco Bell, for some reason. Like most things, you can also buy packs in bulk on Amazon, but I found this hilarious because most of the people were buying them to make characters, not actually using them to eat anything. Now, while we're talking about Reddit, while I was there, I also asked about people's reactions if a spork were to be served to them at a nicer sit-down restaurant. The results were mostly indifferent, but a few claimed they would leave the restaurant immediately. But generally, no one seems to care about this poor utensil. Why? While I was researching and writing this video, I came across a children's book titled simply Spork. This book followed a character that was a spork who had a really hard time fitting in. He wasn't spoon enough to hang out with the spoons, and also wasn't fork enough to be in the Spike Gang either, leaving him all alone and isolated. That's depressing. The book tried to share the story that even when you don't fit in, you have a purpose somehow, even if it's extremely niche. A bit of a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer situation where you can only be accepted into a cult when you find a way to be useful. Now, I feel like children's books tend to try and see the glasses half full, but it's comically sad that in reality, the spork found its meaning and peaked as a throwaway option people are indifferent about, only available at a handful of fast food chains. I hate to burst your bubble, kids, but this is real life, and it still could be worse. Now, outside of kids' books, the spork is an excellent everyday metaphor with lots of takeaway stories, all deriving from the general idea of something trying to do too much at once to please everyone, and it ultimately just ends up sucking. There are many examples of this, like cargo shorts. They're super handy, comfortable, and you can carry an entire toolbox with you if you want it. Yet no matter how hard you try to make them fashionable, most agree they're anything but stylish, just like the spork. The spork is definitely not perfect, but why more people don't use it is likely because it just kind of sucks. It's not a very good fork, and it's also not a very great spoon. The spork is the ultimate symbol for a jack of all trades, but master of none.